our nominees from Michigan, San Antonio, and St. Louis. And the Freshie Award for Game Breaker goes to Hakeem the Dream Butler. 45 catches, 652 receiving yards, led the league, along with 5 scores, which was tied for second. Congrats to Hakeem and his receiver coach, Phil McGagan. Our next category highlights a few spectacular grabs that you had to rewind to see twice. And of course, you were going to send those in your sports group chats. It's Catch of the Year. First up, Briley Moore from week 2 as the defenders hosted the Roughnecks, draped in double coverage, snags the pill out of the air with one hand, cracks open a cold one with the boys to celebrate. Let's take another look here. What a play for the fourth-year pro out of Kansas State. A catch so good, Blandino can't even argue it. Up next, you guessed it, Hakeem Butler, week 3 against San Antonio. 3 defenders closing on him, didn't matter. He makes the play, secures this catch to the ground, and this was a crucial 3rd and long, propelled the Battlehawks to a win. 3 categories, 3 nominations for him. And finally, Kiki Chisholm from week 5 as the Roughnecks hosted Birmingham, fought through the interference, corner locked onto his collar through the air here. Pure power for the 3rd-year pro out of Mizzou, controls it, coming to the ground for the score here. And congratulations to our nominees from DC, St. Louis, and Houston. The Freshie Award for Catch of the Year goes to Briley Moore. Only one hand needed for this one, for the celebration and the catch. Number 1 on ESPN's SportsCenter Top 10. Congratulations to Briley and his quarterback, Jordan Ta'amu, for dialing up that dime. Our next category spotlights those Heisman-type games that pique the interest of NFL scouts, when players just flat out have a day. It's Offensive Performance of the Year. First up, John Lovett from week 6 at DC. The bad weather took the air out of the air raid that day, so they turned to Lovett, who powered his way for 153 rushing on 23 carries. Also added a receiving touchdown to the resume this afternoon. He was simply unstoppable. Lovett had 7 carries of 10 yards or more. Up next, let me guess, Hakeem Butler, his 4th nomination might be his best work. Week 5 against DC. A lot on the line, including revenge from the sweep. Butler went off, handing the defenders their first ever loss in Audi Field. Everybody in red got mossed. I mean, DJ Swearinger, who's chasing him there, ended up getting cut. After this game, Butler did bad, terrible things to the DC defenders that day. And finally, Adrian Martinez, his 2nd nomination of the night from week 6 against Memphis, had about 400 yards of total offense, smashing spring football records. Adrian slung the pill to 10 different receivers on a way to a blowout win on the road. And just check out this dot to Kevin Austin Jr. What a day it was for our Offensive Player of the Year in his 2nd nomination. Congratulations to our nominees from San Antonio, St. Louis, and Birmingham. Our Freshie Award for Offensive Performance of the Year goes to, Hakeem Butler. 6 catches, 147 yards, and a pair of touchdowns in that rivalry game on the road against the defenders. Congratulations to Hakeem for his 2nd Freshie Award of the evening. Our next category rounds out the offense-only honors. 3 prospects who you gotta figure will be a lock for NFL training camps and will have a chance to make that jump onto a 53-man roster. It's offensive, most NFL ready. Sal Cannella, 5th-year pro to Auburn, had him on the show a few weeks back. He said he was fighting for that dream to make it back to the NFL, and this season was a hell of a sales pitch. Best tight end in the UFL in multiple categories. He led the entire league in receiving touchdowns, and at 6'5", 245, he'll be getting plenty of NFL looks. Up next, Jay Sternberger, 6th-year pro at Texas A&M, made life easy for Adrian Martinez this season. 2nd in the league with over 18 yards a catch, snagged 4 scores, making play after play for the league's number 1 total offense. Jace has the size and the hands to get it done in the NFL. And finally, you guessed it again, Hakeem Butler, 5 for 5 nominations in offensive categories. He needs to be in the NFL. He's the biggest and strongest receiver in this spring league. Great speed, massive hands, just has the looks of an NFL receiver and checks all the boxes. Easy choice there. Congratulations to our nominees from Arlington, Birmingham, and St. Louis. And the Freshie Award for Offensive Most NFL Ready goes to Sal Cannella. May have been snubbed from the All-UFL team, but not here on the Boulevard. 53 catches, 497 total yards, and 6 touchdowns. Congratulations to Sal and his tight end coach, Reggie Davis. And to present our next category, please welcome to the stage the People's Gambler.
So for my first award of the night, we're going DFS Dominator. And these are guys who entered the season with very little hype around their name, but when it was all said and done, they were one of the highest priced players in the DFS pool. First up, we got Jacob Sailors. Coming in at $4K, Sailors doubled his stock price this season. The former East Tennessee State Buccaneer is second in the league in rushing yards with 460 and has 5 rushing touchdowns. He also accounted for 151 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. Next up, we got Ricky Person Jr. Priced at $4,500 week 1, Person had a significant raise to his stock this season. The former NC State Wolfpack ran for 295 rushing yards and leads the league with 6 rushing touchdowns. In addition, he caught 13 passes for 150 receiving yards. And last up, we got Dawood Davis. Dawood also doubled his stock price this season, coming in at $9K last week. The former Western Kentucky Hilltopper and Miami Dolphin accounted for 446 receiving yards and is tied for second in the league with 5 receiving touchdowns. Congratulations to our nominees, Jacob Sailors, Ricky Person Jr., and Dawood Davis. And the winner for DFS Dominator is Jacob Sailors. He averaged 16 points per game. His starting salary was $4K. Last week, he was $9,600, and most importantly, no turnovers committed this season.
Jacob Sailors getting some hardware. Congratulations on the Freshie Award. Great stuff there, as always, from TPG. Our next category flips us to the defensive side of the ball with 3 absolute animals that just wrecked offensive game plans and single-handedly took over contests. It's Defensive Player of the Year. First up, Breeland Speaks. The regular season turned into 10 weeks of Speaks for the 7th-year prod of Ole Miss, led the league in sacks and TFLs, anchored the UFL's number 2 rush defense, and he put 1/3 of Michigan's entire sack output on his back, just abusing offensive linemen all year long. Up next is Willie Harvey. Big hit Willie, a staple in this Battlehawks D. 6th-year prod at Iowa State, led the league in tackles from his linebacker spot, tied for second in TFLs, and Harvey stopped the run all season. Versatile in coverage for the UFL's number 2 pass defense. You were just guaranteed to see number 51 in blue flying around out there. And finally, Tavante Beckett, 4th-year prod of Marshall, followed Coach Wade from Houston to San Antonio and had his breakout year. 3rd in the league in tackles, 2nd in TFLs and 2 forced fumbles as the leader of the UFL's number 1 total defense, where he made 3rd down nearly impossible for the opposition. Congratulations to our nominees from Michigan, St. Louis, and San Antonio. The Freshie Award for Defensive Player of the Year goes to Willie Harvey. 78 tackles, led the league. 9 TFLs, was tied for second, and 2 forced fumbles. Congratulations to Willie and his linebacker coach, Chris Claiborne. Our next category, again, highlights 3 prospects who are going to hear their phone ringing from NFL teams all summer while on their quest to land a spot on a 53-man roster. It's Defensive Most NFL Ready. First up, Jordan Mosley, 3rd-year prod of Maryland, just 23, anchored a Brahma secondary, banged up all season, but he was the mainstay. 2nd in the league in tackles, grabbed a pick as well, and led the Brahmas to the UFL's number 1 ranking in pass defense, where they allowed less than 170 yards per game. Jordan Mosley, what a stud. Up next, Mike Rose. Every rose has its thorn, and for the 3rd-year prod at Iowa State, he did more in 7 games than most linebackers did in 10. The 24-year-old solidified himself, playing alongside our Defensive Player of the Year, Willie Harvey. He's 6'4", 250, and will be an absolute weapon for any NFL squad who signs him. And finally, Breland Speaks, a second nomination in 2 categories for Big 57, dominating force as a pass rusher, versatile as a run stuffer, 6'3", 285, size, speed, and power to add depth to any NFL front. 28 in his 7th pro season, just keeps getting better. Congratulations to our nominees from San Antonio, St. Louis, and Michigan. And the Freshie Award for Defensive Most NFL Ready goes to Mike Rose. 45 tackles in 7 games, 2 interceptions, and a forced fumble for Mike. Congratulations to him, and a second Freshie Award for his linebacker coach, Chris Claiborne. Our next category, a love letter to the game of football. One of the things we love most about this game, the high-speed, earth-shattering hard hits, and these 3 left tattoos on the ball carrier. It's hit of the year. First up, Isaiah Johnson from Week 6 on Landon Acres. This may have been his first and last kick return. The 6th-year pro to Houston laid the lumber and left Acres on his back. And, of course, Greg Williams on the sideline yelling, "Come get some, bitch!" Isaiah Johnson. Kedrick Whitehead from Week 4 on Quentin Dormady, the quarterback trying to get out of bounds here. Whitehead says, "Not with some pain first." The 2nd-year pro to Delaware sees Dormady flying through the air as the dreads wave in the wind for effect. And finally, Derek Roberson from Week 4 on Matt Corral just buries the quarterback like a backpack full of bowling balls. 6th-year pro to Sam Houston State. This was one of his 5 sacks on the season, and certainly the most violent. Congratulations to our nominees from DC and Michigan. The Freshie Award for Hit of the Year goes to Isaiah Johnson. High impact, form tackle, 10 out of 10. And of course, Greg Williams was thrilled. Congratulations to Zay and his defensive back coach, Vernon Dean. Our next category, again, spotlights one single game tape that was good enough to land these 3 potential NFL training camp invites. It's Defensive Performance of the Year. Up first, Tavante Beckett, a second nomination for him. Week 5 against Arlington, he racks up 14 tackles, 1 for a loss, and forces a fumble on the last play of the game. He led the Brahmas defense on a night they came out victorious over their hated rivals, getting revenge from XFL 2023. Up next, Malik Fisher from Week 5 against St. Louis. Fisher opened the game with a vengeance, sacking A.J. McCarron twice within the first 2 drives and tallying a strip sack, which he recovered on his own. The 3rd-year pro to Nova added another sack later in the day. Fisher just a force to be reckoned with all afternoon. Finally, Kai Nakua. Season opener against St. Louis, the 8th-year pro to BYU registered 11 tackles, 2 TFLs, and a big-time sack. He led the Panthers defense to an outstanding showing that night, knocking off the Battlehawks. Congratulations to our nominees from San Antonio, DC, and Michigan. And the Freshie Award for Defensive Performance of the Year goes to Malik Fisher. Undeniable. 3 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery for Fish. Congratulations to Malik and his defensive line coach, Jeremy Watkins. Our next category, a quarterback's worst enemy. They're going to wake up in the morning feeling the bone-rattling hits they've taken from each of these 3 guys. It's quarterback nightmare. First up, Chris Odom, 8th-year pro to Arkansas State, set up camp in UFL backfields, ranking 4th in TFLs and 5.5 sacks. Odom was instrumental in a Houston run defense that held backs to a UFL best 3.7 yards a carry, the former USFL Defensive Player of the Year. Up next, Dondre Tillman, 5th-year pro to IUP, was one weapon in a deadly Birmingham front that put up 29 sacks as a unit. He had 3.5 himself, 6 total TFLs, and a forced fumble, helping lead the Stallions to the #1 rank in rush defense. Dondre Tillman, a force to be reckoned with. And finally, surprise, surprise, Breland Speaks, yet another nomination for the 7th-year pro out of Ole Miss, led the league in sacks and TFLs, flattening quarterbacks. Like we said, 10 weeks of Speaks probably felt like a lifetime for the offensive lines and quarterbacks against him. Congratulations to our nominees from Houston, Birmingham, and Michigan. And the Freshie Award for Quarterback Nightmare goes to Breland Speaks. 9.5 sacks led the UFL, 13 tackles for loss, and a forced fumble. Congratulations to Breland and his defensive coordinator, Colin Bauer. And now back to present our next category. Please welcome to the stage the People's Gambler.
Next up, we got Bad Beat of the Year. And these are games I wagered real money on, and let's just say I had a really horrific start to the season. First up, we got Birmingham at Arlington in the season opener. And fast forward to the fourth quarter, 27 seconds left. Chris blew it for a chance to hit the over, and he blew it. As a Bears fan, I am cursed by doinks, and it happened to me once again. Moving on to San Antonio at Memphis, week 2. And I went up against Zook and Fresh on this one, going with Boats money line. And this was a great bet for about 58 minutes of game time until A.J. Smith calls, GTFO, GTFO. Garbers rolls out to his right and finds Cody Latimer in the back of the end zone to absolutely rip my heart out. What a horrible way to lose a bet. And lastly, we got DC at Arlington, and I was all over Arlington -1 to get their first win of the season. Just before the 2-minute warning, Taylor Russolino booms it from 49 yards out to extend the lead to 10, but not so fast, Zook. DC rallies late, gets a couple of big plays, and Matt McCrane sends them home with the W. Our bad beats of the year nominees are over 41.5 in Birmingham, Arlington, week 1, Memphis moneyline week 2 versus San Antonio, and Arlington -1 versus DC in week 3. And the Freshie Award for Bad Beat of the Year is Memphis moneyline week 2 against San Antonio. I was really high on Memphis at the beginning of the year, but look at that middle stat right there. How do you lose the game in the last 3 seconds when you've been leading the entire time? I'm sick to my stomach just talking about this. Matty, take it away.
Sportsbooks 1, TPG 0. But thanks, man. That was great content from you yet again. Our next category, all about the underdogs. 3 guys who put themselves on the map early and often after getting absolutely no love from the media in the preseason. It's most slept on. First up, Chris Rowland, 5'8", 170. He's overlooked by teams in the USFL draft after the Philly Stars dissolved, but he found his home with the XFL Defenders. The fifth-year prod at Tennessee State turned into a household name, leading the league in all-purpose yards, starring in the slot, and rewriting the record books with the first and only kick return in UFL history. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Chris Rowland. Up next, Dawood Davis. The Deuce was faced with arguably the worst QB situation in the league, but he made the most of it. 446 yards, 41 catches, second in the league with 5 touchdowns, including the season's longest of 82 yards. Can you imagine if the Deuce was on a playoff team, the impact that he could make? And finally, Kevin Austin Jr., Stone Cold became our nickname for him. He came up clutch in the Stallions offense time and time again. Might not have had the most catches, yards, or targets, but scored that game winner against St. Louis. He bailed his team out against Michigan and scored from 80 yards out to match his number against Memphis. Congratulations to our nominees from D.C., Memphis, and Birmingham. And the Freshie Award for most slept on goes to Chris Rowland. 1,657 all-purpose yards led the league. He had 165 of those per game. And like we said, the lone kick return touchdown in UFL history. Congratulations to Chris and his wide receiver coach, Sean Anderson. Our next category is all about the access that us fans get in the UFL with live mics and in-game sideline interviews that are sure to entertain. It's Quote of the Year.
From here on out, my ass is not this wet. The volunteer trainer just absolutely soaked me with the sponge.
Because I handed that ball off and I literally am dripping from your ass.
You went to a bear front. Why did you go there, Coach?
Well, the bear front, Buddy Ryan a long time ago, that's what we've always done. We've been able to load the box, make the lineman block, and then also I was looking for a bear to make a tackle. A few more missed tackles, and I'm going to put a bare foot up somebody's ass.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, you got it.
Question for you. What did you have for breakfast?
I had eggs.
Well, I'm only a TV guy, but you didn't think you would have waffles before a game like this? Good luck, Coach.
Congratulations to our nominees, Jack Kramer from Houston, Greg Williams from D.C., and Wade Phillips from San Antonio. And our Freshie award for Quote of the Year, of course, goes to Coach Wade. A 1-0 win over the TV guy. Sorry, Cole Kublik. I know Devin Gardner had to get you there with I Had Eggs. What a moment. Follow him at Son of Bum on Twitter. Congratulations, Coach, for Quote of the Year. Our next category honors the head ball coaches, the walkie-talkie wielding group of guys whose commitment and dedication advance this sport through everything and the experience they bring to the league. It's Coach of the Year. First up, Anthony Beck put together his second straight 7-3 season in St. Louis. Great for his first 2 years as a head coach. He gets the home field advantage, 5-0 at home, 5-1 against conference opponents, number 2 scoring offense in the league, and have their sights set on a championship. Another phenomenal job by Coach Beck and the rest of his staff. And it's Skip Holtz is next. The gold standard of spring football has his team on a fast track to a championship with a 9-1 record. He's 30-4 overall on the quest to a three-peat, has the league's top offense and the number 2 defense, lost his defensive coordinator for the final 3 games of the regular season, and still went 9-1. Finally, Mike Nolan, who's been around the block himself as a head coach, exceeded preseason expectations, knocking off St. Louis, D.C., and Arlington on their way to a 7-3 season. With a second-ranked rush offense and rush defense, they are ready to compete for a championship with a physical group that possesses NFL caliber experience. Congratulations to our nominees from St. Louis, Birmingham, and Michigan. And the Freshie for Coach of the Year goes to Skip Holtz. 9-1 this season, 26.5 points per game, led the UFL, and they stopped the run with the best of them, only 77.3 yards per game. Congratulations to Coach Holtz and his entire staff. Our next category, a fan favorite. After 10 weeks of fantastic finishes and explosive plays, these are the 3 we'll remember the most. It's Play of the Year. First up, Marcus Makes a Miss, a second nomination for the Panther Star from Week 3 against Houston. Took the check down from E.J. Perry and turned 2 yards into 66. The 6th-year pro out of West Virginia, putting the entire Houston defense on skates. I mean, let's count them here. This is unbelievable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he burns a 6th at the end here. Marcus Sims, gotta love it. Up next, Kick 6 meets Thick 6. Season opener against D.C., Peyton Pardee reached into his bag of tricks and ended up with one of the greatest moments in spring football history. A punter throwing a 40-yard touchdown to a center. Brad Wing with the rocket to Alex Millette. There was no coming back from this for the D.C. defenders. And Coach Wade said afterwards he never saw a punter go to his 3rd read in the progression quite like Brad Wing did that day. And finally, the Motor City Miracle. Season opener in Ford Field between St. Louis and Michigan came down to the leg of a 24-year-old kid from Tomball, Texas, who had not attempted a single field goal in college. Coach Nolan had faith, and Bates had the leg. Earthquake, a 64-yard magnitude right down the fault line at downtown Detroit. And the Michigan Panthers, as a big underdog, celebrate their way to an upset win. And no, this is not the NFL. You can only get this in the UFL. 64-yard walk-off winner for Jake Bates. Congratulations to our nominees from San Antonio and Michigan. The Freshie Award for Play of the Year goes to the Motor City Miracle. Jake Bates was iced. He hit it twice. It was a 64-yard walk-off winner for a guy who had 0 college field goal attempts. Congratulations to Jake Bates and his special team coach, Chris Boniel. Our next category, full of games and finishes wild enough to make even the casuals come crawling into the UFL universe. It's our Game of the Year. First up, Week 2, San Antonio 20, Memphis 19. Garbers throws a pick with 4.5 minutes left to Delrick Abrams. You had to figure it was over there. down by 11 points, but Garbers rallied, and with under a minute to play, found Jontre Kirkland to cut the lead to 1 score. On the 4th and 12 alternative onside kick, Garbers found Kirkland again. They moved the sticks, and it was on from there. Clock ticking, 30 seconds to go. Garbers going to find Speedy Stevenson. Stevenson gets him into plus territory. Very next play, 20 seconds to go. Garbers again. Stevenson, 30, 25, getting out of bounds on the far sideline. Here's Garbers again, under 10 seconds to play to Justin Smith. And now with 3 seconds to go, Chase Garbers, down 5, touchdown, Cody Latimer. Unbelievable. They scored all 20 points in the fourth quarter to win it, coming back from down 11. In week 7, it was Birmingham 30, St. Louis 26. A.J. McCarron's return to the state of Alabama, and he was running wild early in the first quarter, but so was Ricky Person Jr., just trucking guys there. There was a muffed punt at one point from the Stallions that Jerome Cap fell on and set the Battlehawks up for a score to put them up in the first half, but Adrian Martinez came back in the fourth quarter with a touchdown pass to Marlon Williams to pull the Stallions ahead. Battlehawks would answer with 6 of their own from Jacob Sailors, running, bumbling into the end zone here for Sailors, and then the winner, Adrian Martinez, pulling the Stallions back ahead with minimal time in the fourth quarter on a slant route to Kevin Austin Jr. They got the ball back on a 3rd and 11 where Martinez with his legs made one of the plays of the year, finding the first down here, which gave the Battlehawks less than 30 seconds to drive the length of the field, where Kavaya Tizino broke up that pass from Ja'Cour Pearson, and that was that. And it was DC and Arlington, a 29-28 win for the Defenders. This one went back and forth all day long with laterals and long touchdown passes and just absolute craziness in the XFL Championship rematch. Luis Perez throwing dots to Javante Payton to pull Arlington ahead by as much as 10. Jordan Tamu would come back with an answer of his own to Brandon Smith. Chris Rowland in the fourth quarter, impact play with DC just trailing by double digits, and he gets them in the plus territory where they would capitalize with Cam Harris to cut the lead to 10. Now Jordan Tamu running it into the end zone on his own. DC still down, gonna need the 4th and 12 here. So what do? They go to Ty Scott. And on the very next play, Kelvin Harmon along the near sideline, 50-50 ball, comes down with it to set up Matt McCrane for a chance at a game winner down 2. Big game McCrane. Walk-off winner for the Defenders as they get the XFL Championship game rematch they so badly needed. Congratulations to our nominees for Game of the Year. And the Freshie Award for Game of the Year goes to Week 7, Birmingham 30, St. Louis 26. The streak survived. We had 6 lead changes in this one, 7 total touchdowns, and 9 plays of 15-plus yards. Congratulations to the Stallions and Battlehawks for delivering what was promised leading into the day, our Game of the Year. Our next category, a very special one for the cast of this show. And unfortunately, last year's recipient, Chris Zook, was declined an invitation to present this prestigious award. So I guess for this year's honor, I'll have to do the honors of giving it out. The Freshie Award for Best Better on the Boulevard goes to me. Woo! Yeah!
No, that's a boo.
I'd like to thank my producer and good friend, Chris Zook, for betting way too many totals and allowing me to win it this season. Our next category highlights the hard-working voice of the UFL that serenaded what we like to call spring football and the game we love. The Freshie Award for Best in the Booth goes to Mike Monaco, lead play-by-play for UFL on ESPN. The 12th year prod of Notre Dame had a marathon, 13 calls, 8 games. Can you imagine? 7 different cities, 2 countries. He had 10,000 plus miles traveled and still found a way to call spring football. Congratulations to Mike and his team of Sam Acho, Stormy Bonantoni, and Cole Kubelik, plus all the talented producers and crew that make up the best network broadcast in the UFL. And speaking of the worldwide leader, we had to name a category after the most electric personality at ESPN and The Rock's favorite journalist, Pat McAfee. It's For the Brand. First up, Brad Wing, McAfee's longtime pal, 12th year pro at LSU, rocketed 35 punts for a 46-yard average with a long of 64 here that Wade Phillips called the game winner against Birmingham. Also threw that touchdown pass back in week 1. You could call Brad Wing the baddest punter down under. Up next, Andre Schmidt led the league in field goal makes. He had 19 of 21, including a long of 61 here against Birmingham. The second-year pro out of Syracuse stepped right into his new role with the St. Louis Battlehawks in his first year and nailed a game winner in front of a crowd of 40,000 strong. And finally, Jake Bates, his second nomination of the night, suits him perfectly. For the Bates, for the brand. Second-year pro out of Arkansas came out of absolute nowhere as a field goal kicker, drilling from 40 with ease, 50 plus, no problem. 60 plus for him was like tying his shoes. Somehow, strictly a kickoff specialist in college, morphed into one of the best kickers in pro football. He'll be NFL bound in a few weeks. Congratulations to our nominees from San Antonio, St. Louis, and Michigan. The Freshie Award for the brand goes to Jake the Earthquake Bates. 100% from 40 to 49. Made 3 from 60 plus, including 2 game winners. Congratulations to Jake Bates on his second Freshie of the evening. And to present our next category, please welcome to the stage for one last time tonight, the People's Gambler.
Here we go. My last award of the night is Fans of the Year. And these fan bases are the loudest, most energetic, passionate home field environments in the UFL. First up is Caw is the Law. They hold the attendance record for modern spring football with 40K in their Week 2 matchup against Arlington, which yours truly was in attendance for. They have averaged 34,000 fans each home game and still have 2 more chances this season to break their own attendance record. Next up, we got Defenders Nation. Home of the Beer Snake, DC continues to show support to their defenders by slamming 5,000 jumbo beers each home game at Audi Field. These fans are so synonymous with spring football that SportsCenter even did a featured segment on this group just last week at halftime of the Defenders game. And lastly, we got Giddy Up Buckham. The Stallions faithful found their identity as a fan base this season. Just a bunch of guys being dudes, getting rowdy in the end zone, and of course taking their tarps off. They've been a great 12th man as the Stallions have been able to feed off their energy and eke out a couple close wins over the past few weeks. Congratulations to our nominees, St. Louis, Caw is the Law, the DC Beer Snake, and Birmingham's Giddy Up Buckham. And the Freshie Award for Fans of the Year is Caw is the Law. Congratulations, Battlehawks fans, but do not be complacent with winning this award. I am issuing all of you a challenge. We have the first playoff game this city has hosted since 2004 on Sunday night, and I am challenging all of you Battlehawks fans to fill the dome with 50K plus. It's been 20 years since the city has seen this type of success on the gridiron, so let's show out for our Battlebirds this weekend and break our own attendance record. Horns down.
Thank you, TPG, the People's Gambler. Let's give the kid a round of applause. Excellent night here on the Boulevard in the Freshies, although I do have to say, hard disagree on snubbing the DC Beer Snake. You and I will be there one day drinking those jumbo beers, my friend, and then you'll see who the best fans in the UFL are. But congratulations to St. Louis. They've done a great job as well. And then there was one ultimate Freshie left to honor tonight, the top of the totem pole, the gold standard, cream of the crop, best of the best, whatever cliche you want to call it. These 3 guys just keep winning. It's most valuable player. First up, Breland Speaks, yet another nomination, this one where it counts the most. Not just a defensive force, but a game changer, a disruptor, a mover of men, 9.5 sacks, 13 TFLs, led the league in both categories, but it wasn't just about his stats. It was getting Michigan to the playoffs. Up next, for Breland Speaks, a huge hit of Jordan Ta'amu there. And Adrian Martinez, our Offensive Player of the Year, now up for MVP. The second-year pro out of Kansas State did more with his 7 games as a starter than anyone in spring football history. Adrian was an automatic first down every time he touched the ball, leading the UFL in total touchdowns and rushing yards, not just among quarterbacks, but running backs as well. Led the Stallions to a 9-1 campaign, sporting the league's top scoring offense and top total offense. Adrian was an absolute pleasure to watch all year, and just his second year as a pro made a difference. And finally, A.J. McCarron, nominated again after winning last year's Freshie for Most Valuable Player. The 11th year pro out of Alabama was a beacon of consistency and proof that just when you thought his prime was past him, he kept on getting better. Gutted out 8 games as the starter, persevering through injury to toss 15 touchdowns against just 4 picks, have the league's second best completion percentage for the number 2 scoring offense in the UFL, and led the Battlehawks to the playoffs. I can promise you this. Nobody, I repeat, nobody wants to face A.J. McCarron in the UFL playoffs. Congratulations to our nominees from Michigan, Birmingham, and St. Louis. And our Freshie Award for Most Valuable Player goes to Adrian Martinez. 2,277 total yards, 18 scores, and get this, 9.8 yards per carry. Just phenomenal. Congratulations to Adrian for his third and most significant Freshie of the night. Wow. That is a wrap on the 2024 Freshie Awards. And thank you as a viewer, as a listener, as a follower of Springball Boulevard. Whether you tune in to the UFL on a casual basis and wanted to see the cream of the crop tonight, or you're a diehard in the trenches with us every week, we appreciate you, and you get a Freshie tonight for following along with us tonight. Don't forget, we have another show coming up tomorrow on Friday. That'll be a huge UFL playoff deep dive. We want to thank the People's Gambler tonight for presenting 3 different awards. He did a phenomenal job. And, of course, the most valuable producer, Chris Zook. For those 2 guys, I'm Matty Fresh. That'll do it for the Freshies. And you always remember, there is no such thing as football season. We'll see you tomorrow for our playoff preview.